Greetings to you and welcome to today's special podcast. I hope you are doing well. You know what? I chanced a very interesting video, right, of an intelligent, brother, definitely from the States, okay, from the US. And I thought of, reacting to this particular video, right? So I will play the video and pause it, from time to time and share my own thoughts, okay, about what he's saying and my own thoughts about the whole concept of submission and leadership in a relationship. All right. So without much ado, let's start. All right. Let me play the video so that we will get his point. All right. At least before I say anything.
Let's talk about submission and leadership, because I think this is an important question or even discussion for black men to have. Submission in relationships is a Eurocentric concept. It comes from a world where white men are given wealth and power by the state, and white women submitted because they have financial security from the government back wealth, right? Black men were
All right. So let me just pause it there and then I'll react to his definition of submission and leadership in a relationship. All right. One interesting thing that I find about his concept is the fact that he mentioned both terms, submission and leadership. All right, because these are the two things that really, without mentioning leadership, you wouldn't have a clear understanding of what it means to submit in a relationship. All right, so basically, what he's saying is that okay, let's say before I come back to what he's saying, okay, about submission and leadership in a relationship as it pertains to whites versus maybe blacks, okay. um Let me give my own definition first of all, or understanding of, let's say, submission and leadership in a relationship. All right, so basically, when we say a woman is submissive, it means that that particular woman respects the man's leadership. That's what we mean by simply what? Submission. Submission doesn't mean dominating the woman. All right. Okay. Women, as a matter of fact, lead in their own way. All right. We lead. So it's like we have leadership. One of the leadership is dominant, which is the male leadership. All right. And the other leadership is nurturing. All right. It's passive. All right. So this is how it is. So it's like we have two leadership, and both leadership type of leaderships are needed in a functionable relationship. All right. We can't have two captains of the same boat. You get what I'm saying? But it doesn't mean the woman is to be dominated. No, the woman is only going to follow the leadership of, because she leads in a different way. She's the one that is in charge of nurturing. She's the one that is in charge of her femininity, is what actually the man actually craves her femininity. And that's why man before a man can lead his household, he needs that feminine leadership. All right. In other words, the femininity of the woman to be able to lead. You get it? So it's not a question of dominance. That's why some women get it wrong. When men say submit, they think like it's about dominance. Or some men actually also think to submit means to dominate your woman. That is not it. It's none of that. Okay. Now, um, coming back to his point, okay, about submission. Let me do that again. Let me play back the video.
Let's talk about submission and leadership, because I think this is an important question or even discussion for black men to have. Submission in relationships is a Eurocentric concept. It comes from a world where white men are given wealth and power by the state, and white women submitted because they have financial security from the government backed wealth, right? Black men were never given that power.
All right. So now, submission as it pertains to whether your ethnicity or whatever, that is a different topic. Okay, and that's what his video is really about. All right. So he's saying that. So it is, first of all, it's very, very important that whenever you see a video, you try to context contextualize the video, right? Try to understand where is this person speaking from? Where is this person based? Where does he live? All right. From which society is he coming from? Now you would be able to understand, the video and what he's saying much better. Because what he's saying does not necessarily apply to the whole world. You get it? In a sense that, for instance, if he's talking about black and white, we cannot apply that to Africa because in Africa we have what? Just black people mainly living in Africa, all right? So it cannot be said. We cannot about Africa when it comes to, you know, uh, comparing submission and leadership uh, among white, what do you call it? Between white couple and black. So that is it. So from his accent, I do understand that he comes from the States, all right? So in the US, you know, our ancestors, Africans, were taken to the US, you know, not by their will, all right? And after all the servitude, you know, uh, from what he's saying, we were never empowered economically. I mean, when I say we were never, I'm referring to black people in the US. African Americans were never empowered economically. I remember watching videos about um, the honorable ancestor Martin Luther King complaining about the fact that after slavery, let's say, black men were never given anything, not even land to start with. So even the right to vote and different things were things that our people had to fight. They had Martin Luther King and co had to march just to get the right to vote. No land, nothing to start with. You see it, no capital, nothing. So it was really hard, and sometimes even education was an issue. Access to good quality education for all. So you can imagine, all right. So his point. So it's important to note that what he's saying is about the U.S. So this cannot be upset of people in Africa. So in Africa, submissiveness is a totally different game in Africa, right? We have our culture and how women submit to men. Naturally, that's why even today, if you want women that still hold on to traditional values and that are still submissive to their men, these women will be found where in Africa. You get it? These women would be found in Africa. In Africa, women still submit to their men. It's not a question of whether or not the woman understands her role and the man understands her role. The woman leads in her own way, the man leads in her own way. So they collaborate. It's not a question of dominance or anything of that sort. You see it? All right. Now, what he's saying is that based on the fact that uh, white men are economically empowered, all right, you know, there is a saying that the one that uh, pays, all right, is the one that gives the orders or that commands, all right. So if the man is the one that is having the financial power in, he's the powerhouse financially of the couple, then he's the one that is going to dictate. The one that pays is the one that dictates. And who follows? The woman and of course the children. So that's why they often say for a man to lead properly, a man needs to what? To be economically sound, okay, to be able to lead or be the the leader of his household, right? The head of the house or the family or whatever. You see, because if he's the one that pays, if he's the economic hub of the house, then he's the one that would command, that dictates the rules, and then the rest of the family would follow. All right. That's why sometimes when a woman takes the role of being the primary or the sole provider, now the man sometimes gets disrespected because the woman starts to feel like, okay, now then I have to dictate, and the man has to follow. And the man's ego probably wouldn't allow him to follow. So that would create a conflict, right? So uh, now what he's trying to say basically is that, or having understood this, what he's trying to say is that the fact that um, the fact that white men have been economically empowered mean they have certain privileges that black people in the US uh, generally would not have access to. All right. So it's like black people don't have easy access to wealth, right? Compared to, that's why they always talk about the white privilege. All right. Having lived in the States, right, know this is something that is real. Okay. We all know how history transpired, So it's not like to talk about discrimination or to talk about things like slavery. These are not slavery or whatever. These are not things that are just invented ways. These are things that literally happened. You see it. So the post-slavery era definitely still has, discrimination and other elements of the past still going on. Though every generation gets better. Maybe our generation is much better. All right. If our ancestors were fighting literally for physical freedom, they were in shackles and chains, and today we are free, then we could say our generation is better. But we also have a role to play, that is to break the chains in our minds. All right. And also, do something, all right, create and do something for, you know, our children and their children to also come and build upon. All right. So it's an unequal race when it comes to maybe comparing black men to white men. That is what he's trying to say, and that is true. All right, you see, that is true, but that is in the U.S. You see, but now, so what he's trying to say is that because of the fact that white men are more economically empowered than black men, it's very natural that we can talk about submission and leadership. Sorry, submission and leadership. Okay, when it comes to relationship, because since the white man is has the economic, or he has the currency, all right, then he can command and his woman can follow. He can lead. In other ways, all right. But if we are asking black women to also commit, meanwhile we don't have the economic power, then what do we want them to sorry, we want them to submit, want black women to submit. Meanwhile, we the black men, we don't have the economic power. Now what do we want them to submit to? That's what he's trying to say. Okay. But I will share my own thoughts about that.
Never happened, right? Black women were never given that security. That never happened. So why are we trying to force a model that was never designed for us? The real question isn't should women submit. The real question is what does fair leadership and partnership look like in a black relationship? Because submission without resources is oppression, right? Leadership without accountability is dictatorship. Okay, so we got to actually be serious about this a little bit as black men and as black women calling a black man a leader, right? Because we need to be able to talk about this. Let's talk about why some black men want submission and why black women are rejecting it, right?
All right. So just as I said, he's saying that you know black have got to be careful because especially black men, if you're asking black women to submit, what do you want them to submit to? If you are economically powerless, and if it's your woman that is even providing, he's the sole provider of the house sometimes, then why would you expect her to submit to you? Because the one that pays, is the one that dictates, as I was saying, you see. So that is what he's trying to now give us his own model of how we should approach leadership and submission or followership in a relationship. as it pertains to the black family or couple. Let's see what he has to say.
Some black men want submission because they've been taught that masculinity is tied to dominance, not collaboration.
Okay. So like I was saying, uh, you know, some black men think it's about dominance, not collaboration. That's why he's saying, okay.
They believe submission equals respect because they've seen white men get it that way. They also feel like they're fighting society and their woman, and they want to break from the constant battles, right? The problem is that society never gave black men the critical financial or political backing that led to lead like white men did, right? Like it never happened. That whole leadership thing was an illusion, right? Like it wasn't going the same way. What a black leader is looks different from a white leader, right? Like a black woman's submission is fundamentally different than a white woman's submission. We need to take it seriously. So the issue is that when black men demand submission without offering security, and it feels like another burden, not protection. And this is something that black guys need to even also understand. You cannot walk up to a woman offering leadership, but not offering security. It's like a thief walking up to you, right, and saying, "Let me hold your phone." It is quite literally the exact same vibe. Okay. Some of the reasons why black women are rejecting submission, they've been forced to survive without a safety net for generations. Period. I should stop there, but I'm gonna lock in. They expected to submit to leadership that hasn't proven stability. Right? Like it just hasn't. Right? They see submission as another form of unpaid labor and control. Right? So the problem is that submission is being framed like as obedience and not partnership. Some of y'all just want obedience from black women in general. That isn't right? Like that isn't. I'm willing to almost say it isn't godly, right? Black women want support, not control. They aren't against good leadership, and I need that to be known. Black women are not against good leadership. They're against being left vulnerable. And I think that's the clearest thing I can put in. The solution is that black men need to redefine leadership and black women need to redefine partnership, right? Men need to stop seeing leadership as
Right. I think I'm so happy that, he's not shifting the blame to just black men, all right? But he's balancing it at this point, saying that black men need to redefine leadership, okay? Leadership in a relationship should not be about dominance, all right? And but rather it should be about collaboration. And that what do we call it? Black women also need to to redefine partnership, right? So, but let's see what he has to add to that.
dominance. Women need to stop seeing partnership as submission, right?
All right.
What
Okay.
leadership should look like. Providing security, emotional, financial, and strategic, not just money, right? Taking responsibility for decisions making with their partner, right? Take responsibility for decision making with your partner, right? Not over her, with your partner.
He has stressed on that with your partner. So it's a matter of collaboration, right? You don't impose your decisions upon him or upon her. All right. But let's continue.
Right? Leading by example, not just expecting obedience. And here's what partnerships mean. Mutual respect, not one person having power over the other. Sharing labor fairly, whether it's financial, emotional, or household duties. Black women are so effective, right? When they get into a relationship, they usually start unpaid labor immediately. Right? Share it. Share it. Right? Both people bringing their strengths to the table.
Absolutely. All right. So, but I just want to let's listen to the rest of the video. All right.
Right? The real goal is that a relationship where neither partner feels overworked, unprotected, or unheard. Right? There was a woman that commented on this that made me think about this. Her name was Goddess Akasha. She's completely right, right? That mentality is key. The issue isn't just submission, though. It's that we were given a relationship model. It's that we were never given a fair relationship model to begin with, right? Black men weren't given wealth and power like white men, and black women weren't given safety to submit like white women. So you're still dating white, right? Even to talk in a submission based mentality, right? So instead of forcing a system that was never for us, we just got to build one that works for our reality, where leadership means responsibility and partnership means fairness. Because submission with no stability.
Leadership means responsibility, and partnership means what? Fairness. All right. So black men have to redefine what leadership. Leadership should not be about dominance, but it should rather be about what? Responsibility. All right. You don't impose, you don't make decisions without involving your woman and imposing your decisions upon her. No, you make those decisions with her. You see it. Now, black women also have to redefine what partnership, right? But let's see. I want to get back what she said about, or he said about partnership.
Reality, where leadership means responsibility and partnership means fairness.
Partnership means what? Fairness, right? You know, here the case we have some women, right, that are craving. So we have some men that mistake leadership for what? Dominance, right? And irresponsibility. And we also have some women that mistake partnership, right, with their man for what? For um seeking a provider, just a provider, right? So we have cases whereby a woman says in the name of partnering with a man, okay, in other words, for her to be able to submit to a man, the man has to be the sole provider. There are women who say this, black women, all right, who say that, okay, for me, they just give they just try to kind of gaslight and make it seem like, oh, it is just, they use that as an excuse that the fact that the one that pays is the one that commands, as or dictates, as they say, meaning that if you want me, or if you want a black woman to submit to you, then, or if the black man wants the black woman to submit to her, then the black man must uh, pay all the bills in the household. But now let's be realistic. We are living in a capitalist society. Let's not even use the term capitalist, all right? But we are living in any kind of form of society. We have men and women working. We both earn salaries, all right? So maybe when we talk about other couples, that's why other couples may be talking about 50-50 or whatever, whatever, which to me isn't even necessary, because if I love and care about you, we shouldn't be talking about who pays first or who pays not. I know that you understand, if you love and care about me, you understand that I should not be the only one taking charge of everything. When you can, you when so it's, think about it. If I am a single guy and I'm living in my apartment and I pay for this apartment, all right. So as a single individual, I'm taking care of my living expenses, all right. I've met you as a woman, and you as a single woman living in your own apartment, you pay your own bills. What makes you think as a woman that when you meet me, I should be able to pay your bills, or our bills, our living expenses together, and still take care of you entirely when we are both doing similar jobs and we earn similar salaries? There is a difference in a case whereby maybe um, I am a top class athlete or a top class lawyer or doctor or engineer, where I earn way, way, way more than you, okay, my woman. Then I wouldn't even, it will only make sense that I ask you not to even pay anything. I would take care of everything. You are going to participate maybe by offering services as a woman, your femininity, your nurturing nature, your comforting nature. That would be enough for me. taking care of their household, maybe cleaning, washing dishes, cooking, as I grind, you know. I might even tell you, maybe if you want to keep doing your job that pays you a penny compared to how much I earn, you could be doing that just for your own sake, for passion. But, you know, then you could turn into a housewife. So we have those cases, right? But in a case where you are not actually a housewife, you're actually working, you're earning a salary. I'm also earning a salary. All right. We are earning, probably, you probably even earn more than me, or we earn almost the same salary. And you understand that since we earn the same salary, when you were living alone, how you understand how difficult it was for you to pay your bills alone. Now you are with this man. You should understand that this man also finds it hard to pay his bills alone, considering the fact that he earns an ordinary man's salary. So it should be about a collaboration whereby you, the black man, and the black woman, or whichever man that is or woman that is watching this video, you, the man and the woman coming together, you are putting your resources together. You probably might not even say you want to have like a joint account or put your whatever together, but you are coming together and you are putting some money, or you are, aside to handle all your living expenses, or to take care of, your living expenses as a, which means, for instance, if I used to stay alone and pay like 2,000, now I'm staying with you. Okay, we make sure we get a space that is will be able to accommodate both of us. Now, if we are to contribute and pay, instead of maybe me paying 2,000 all alone, now I'm gonna pay maybe 1,200, right? And maybe you would pay 800 as my wife or woman. And of course, if we choose to say, okay, let's make it 50-50, whatever that it is, that is not really important to me. But both parties are participating. That is how it's supposed to be. All right. Even in the olden days when it was about like working on the farm, whereby like women just had to follow their men to the farm, and it was not like women had no job by themselves, and they were, but you see that they were contributing. They were not just sitting at home expecting their men to hunt and farm. No, women, maybe men had the strength to go and plow, but women would go and sow. During the harvest, they had to, all both men and women had to be involved to do the harvest. Now the man provides the security needed for the family, food and what have you. So that qualified the man as a leadership because he had to do the hard work. Now in today's world, we are both having that economic freedom. Men and women alike are working. So to me, it even makes things much more easier. It means that we can just come together, team up, collaborate, put our resources together, and we will even be more happier together than before. You see, so black women should stop mistaking partnership for what? For for looking for a provider, but rather looking for somebody to really partner with. All right. Don't that is, I think I've stressed so much on that. Black men should also stop seeing leadership as dominance, but rather what? Collaboration. Don't make decisions without involving your woman, and don't be imposing your will upon your woman, even if you are the one that is the sole provider as a man for the family. Excuse me for that.
Because submission with no stability is not protection, it is just oppression. Let's talk about submission.
All right. And one last thing that he has added that I would like to comment on is the fact that he's saying that submission without security and responsibility is like oppression. Sure. Excuse me. So if you want your woman, which means the old rule still remains that if you want your woman to submit to you, then you need to provide security. All right. But to me, there are exceptions to this rule. All right. You cannot say, for instance, because else then it will be contradictory, right? So we have to have to explain further. Uh, you cannot say, for instance, if a black man loses his job, maybe the circumstances surrounding why he has lost his job, all right, something has happened, he lost his job, or his business is no longer going well. We cannot say black woman should stop being submissive, all right, or should stop following the leadership of this man because something just happened to him. All right. But in a case where a black man is actually being lazy and is not taking any action to improve upon his situation, then that's where we can be saying what? Uh, you know, the black man is not providing security. But maybe something happened. He lost his job and he's actually putting in efforts to get back his job. In that case, the black woman needs to still remain submissive. And to me, as a matter of fact, submission and leadership is all about what? Collaboration and partnership. So for this reason, even you as a woman, when you are to go in for a man, you should be going in for a man based on what? Based on his potential, right? People always say go for the back. I don't think that is fair, right? If you are going for the back, it means that you are going for a provider. Then expect that person to be dominating you, right? Because the man wants to feel appreciated, even if he's to provide. You see, so black men need to provide. So I mean, my mom and dad came together when they had nothing, but they managed to raise us and they managed to educate us. So why? How did they do it? That is in Africa. They did it because in Africa we still hold on to traditional values. Of course, some people may have fallen short of the traditional values, but those principles remain. That it's all about partnership and it's all about collaboration. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. These are my thoughts on, this brilliant brothers reaction. Sorry, video. This is my reaction on it, and please let me know what you also think in the comment section. And please remember that it's all about what leadership and submission. It's all about what collaboration and partnership.